Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of JVSCP. This week, as you can see, we have another Are We Cool Yet episode for you. And just to give context to those who don't know, Are We Cool Yet is an in-universe art movement within the, greater SCP universe. It's a very loose kind of artistic movement without any direct hierarchy or organization, but they all have one thing in common, which is that they create anomalous art. So basically either the art itself is anomalous or the art is created using anomalous objects or anomalous locations, etc. But I think you'll catch on once we get to reading the entries, which will actually, let me check my, we'll do right now. SCP-1672 by TwistedGears from the SCP Wiki. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1675 is currently stored inside a 35 by 35 by 35 cm steel box inside a 3 by 3 by 3 meter storage room inside. All documentation on SCP-1672 is to be stored in this box. All documentation is to be on paper with a quotation box, such as on this document, for the convenience of those infected. Those infected by 1672 are to either be reassigned to research the object or be given Class A amnestics. Description: SCP-1672 is a single sheet of number 20 US letter-sized copy paper, with a 18 by 18 cm black box in the center. Inside the box is an image of a man with a cardboard box with a smiley face drawn on it in black over his head, sitting at an office desk with 2 monitors. This image is a mimetic agent that causes infected individuals to become obsessed with isotropy and the contents of boxes, and also exhibits severe levels of agoraphobia. Infected individuals will ignore any written information not contained within a printed box, such as the ones on this document, and if confronted about this, will become irritable and often violent. Footnote 1. This behavior is similar to the reaction of individuals exposed to SCP-1274 when attempting to remove said anomaly from the vicinity of the victim. Investigation into a link between these two cognitohazards is ongoing. The meme also seems to have a compulsion factor, as those infected often try to infect others by showing them the image. Outside of this box are handwritten messages written in black ink. These messages are non-anomalous. However, due to the nature of 1672, they are difficult to read without becoming infected. Having an infected individual cover the image has proven effective, and photographs of 1672 have been proven to not carry its effect. Most of these messages are directed at Foundation personnel in general, mocking the Foundation's modus operandi and the general short-sightedness of its members. None of this information is to be brought to the attention of infected individuals, even if they were aware of these messages prior to being infected. Acquisition. SCP-1672 came into Foundation custody on the 24th of October 2006, when the steel box it is currently contained in was found near of site. After testing whether the box contained a bomb or another kind of immediate security threat, a D-class was used to open the box. Infection was immediate, as D-98634 began to complain about the room lacking isometric design. D-98634 then showed researchers and security personnel present SCP-1674, infecting them all. By the 26th of October 2006, 90% of site was infected. On the 31st of October 2006, MTF Beta-12 trick-or-treaters entered site with the intention of distributing Class A amnestics to attempt to counter the mimetic effects of 1672. 31% of site personnel had expired from dehydration after finding isometric containers large enough to fit inside. 43% were found alive in such containers, having been cared for by uninfected personnel. They found that roughly 10% of site had been altered to make the affected rooms isometric. The methods of doing so varied, such as brickwork or stacked wooden pallets, and upon questioning site personnel confirmed it was the doing of the infected. Amnestics were successfully distributed throughout site, and the memetic agent was contained, designated as SCP-1672, and slated for testing to determine its origin. Scan of SCP-1672 messages.
Think outside the box. Oh wait, you can't. Are you satisfied with your little box? You ask why. We ask, why not? Art. Your head. Get it? Ideas don't have ideologies. Are we cool yet? Art can't be contained.
This one's a pretty old one, and I think it's a pretty fun one as well. It's very simple, but I think the whole message works pretty well, and I can definitely see some kind of artistic movement making fun of the Foundation in this kind of way, you know? Personally, I think having the drawing in the middle of the blank square is kind of like overkill. I think it's kind of boring. I don't think it really adds too much, but I think that's just my preference. As a whole, I think it's a really fun one, and it works pretty well. And it's definitely something that I could see fitting into like the universe from the Control games, you know? I also really like how the effect is not like totally mundane, like it actually does affect the people who are infected by it, but doesn't go too far either where it like starts hurting people or makes the people, you know, randomly explode or anything. I think it does just enough and not too much in the perfect kind of way. Well, as you could have guessed, I really like these kinds of more mundane, simple item type SCPs. So yeah, this is a fun one. SCP-149-KO by Dem42, translated by Fluxman, from the International Branches Hub. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-149 is stored in a standard object locker. To prevent CCTV damage, 149 must be put in an opaque box or wrapping during transportation. The object must not be viewed for over 30 minutes except during experiments. Photography equipment that shot SCP-149 should be stored separately from regular equipment. Description: SCP-149 is an artifact made of steel wire, sized 21 by 21 by 39 centimeters, that was found in the basement of Gallery of Art. A semi-transparent white text that reads, "Are we cool yet?" appears in the center of footage and images of SCP-149. Photography produced by analog film cameras also displays the same phenomenon. When photographed over 100 times or filmed for over 30 minutes with the same equipment, the text will display on all images and footage produced by the equipment. This phenomenon can be stopped by changing the equipment's lens. However, the affected lens cannot be physically distinguished from normal lenses. When the affected lens is attached to unaffected equipment, they also display the same anomaly. If a human sees SCP-149 for over 30 minutes, the same watermark appears in the center of the person's vision, even if their eyes are closed, causing chronic optical fatigue. The watermark does not automatically fade away, though it is confirmed that replacing the victim's cornea can remove the text. The watermark was visible on the warehouse CCTV footage of Gallery of Art, where SCP-149 was discovered. 3 janitors of the gallery experienced optical fatigue caused by 149. They were treated with cornea replacement surgery and amnestics, and the warehouse CCTV was contained by the Foundation. Addendum. Interview Log 01. Interviewee: Civilian, Korean, warehouse keeper of blank Gallery of Art. Expressed optical fatigue due to SCP-149. Interviewer: Researcher. Forward. Interview recorded to study SCP-149's anomalous effects on humans. The interview was recorded before the interviewee was treated to 149's effects. Start of log 2014, 22nd of March, 31 minutes past 1.
Recording started. Do your eyes feel better?
Yes, the eye drops really helped, though I can still faintly see it.
Now, when did you first see the wire artifact in the gallery you were working at?
Probably a week ago or so. That was when the gallery bought artifacts in bulk. That must be one of them.
Did you notice anything different from that piece?
I think the box said no photographs due to copyright. The creator was anonymous. Nothing more, I think.
When did you notice something wrong with your eyes?
2 days ago, or about 5 days since the artifact arrived. I opened the box and dusted it off. Wooden boxes tend to shed dust. It was then my eyes started acting strange.
How much time did you take to clean the artifact?
Only a couple of minutes, though I left it outside the box for about 40 minutes while I sat next to it having lunch that my co-worker brought.
And what did you do after your eyes were affected?
I first rinsed them with water. I thought it was dust, but it didn't go off, so I went to see an ophthalmologist who were with me. The doctor told me nothing was wrong, but I couldn't sleep since I could still see that strange thing. I stayed up all night.
Any other notable things about that piece?
Nope. I don't know much. I'm just a janitor. Ask the gallery director.
Okay, end recording.
End of log, the 22nd of March 2014, 57 minutes past 1. Conclusion. The interviewee was treated with cornea replacement surgery and amnestics. Further investigation revealed that the art gallery director knew nothing about the purchase of SCP-149. Everyone who was present in the optical clinic when Blank visited was also treated with amnestics. In the last episode, we also read one of these international Are We Cool Yet entries, and that was a banger, and this one's a banger too. Damn, these are really good. This is such a cool one. I really, really like the idea of this art piece that you're not supposed to look at. I think that is such a cool idea, and not just that, it's also a pretty cool kind of nudge against like copyright, you know? And I just it's such a cool idea of being like, or making fun of the kinds of people who are so jealous, or so, I don't think jealous is the right word, but so concerned about their art being being stolen, or someone taking influence from their art, that they would go these kinds of lengths to copyright something. That's what this piece is kind of making fun of, you know? So I think that's such a fun idea. And I also like that it's something very simple. I like that it's a physical object instead of a painting. I don't know why. I don't know if that's just like a preference I have, but I think the idea of it being something so simple but so profound at the same time is really cool. And also, on top of that, I really like the idea that it's just this simple watermark instead of being something like, stop looking at me, dumbass, or it's, you know, something more extreme. It's just this simple watermark. It's so cool. I really, really like this. And especially it being shared on this kind of Creative Commons type of collaborative storytelling site. It's so fun. I really like this one, both as an entry on like a meta level, but also I like the SCP itself, and like the way that it works in universe is really cool. This is definitely a fun one. SCP-1207 by tunedtoadeadchannel. Rewritten by Voct. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1207 is to be wrapped in opaque cloth and contained within a standard inanimate objects locker. In accordance with standard protocol for direct exposure line-of-sight cognitohazards, SCP-1207 is to be kept under constant real-time video surveillance whenever it is removed from its locker for any purpose, maintenance, analysis, experimentation, etc. Maximum cumulative direct exposure for individual personnel is not to exceed 2 hours within a 30-day period or 24 hours within an individual's lifetime. Personnel whose cumulative direct exposure to 1207 exceeds 2 hours within a 30-day period are to be immediately placed on psychological leave until such time as they have been judged free of the symptoms of body dysmorphic disorder and are not to resume active duty until they have successfully undergone retraining in data entry and proofreading. Description: SCP-1207 is a mirror, approximately 1 meter by 1/2 meter in size, in a wooden frame painted with pink and red hearts. Using the kin-scale method of mirror-type object evaluation, Foundation scientists have established it as a minor-level psychological threat. SCP-1207 is a metal sign, approximately 50 cm by 60 cm in size, painted white with embossed letters reading, "This is a mirror. You are a typo." It is a direct exposure cognitohazard, which manifests 3 distinct anomalous effects upon subjects within line of sight. The first effect, which is the most obvious, is that any sighted person, mammal, vertebrate, directly exposed to SCP-1207 will perceive it as being a mirror, even if they are aware of its true nature. Test subjects not capable of mirror recognition will perform territorial threat displays against 1207. Human subjects uniformly describe the mirror as being contained within a white wooden frame with, quote, "pink and red hearts," unquote. However, more detailed descriptions vary from subject to subject. Blindfolded subjects report that SCP-1207 feels, quote, "smooth and glassy," unquote, with, quote, "wood around the edges," unquote. Conversely, blind subjects report that SCP-1207 feels, quote, "metallic and bumpy." It is to be emphasized that despite the perceptions and reactions of affected subjects, SCP-1207 does not actually function as a mirror. The second anomalous effect is that subjects exposed to 1207 will rapidly develop symptoms of body dysmorphic disorder as they examine their, quote, "reflections." Human subjects will voice a variety of complaints about their physical appearance, ranging from, quote, "I'm the wrong height," to, quote, "my tattoo is crooked," and always ending with, quote, "I'm not cool yet." Non-human subjects capable of mirror recognition will perform compulsive grooming. As cumulative exposure time to SCP-1207 increases, subjects will begin to modify their appearances in attempts to, quote, "correct" themselves, typically by application of cosmetics. Subjects without access to cosmetics will engage in self-mutilation. Such subjects, when shown actual mirrors, will express satisfaction with their modifications. However, when re-exposed to SCP-1207, subjects will again find fault with their appearance. The third anomalous effect is that subjects exposed to SCP-1207 will gradually develop symptoms of dyslexia, losing their ability to spell and to notice spelling errors. This effect is limited to subjects familiar with the English language, and always begins with the subject consistently misspelling the word mirror as mirror. The induced dyslexia is temporary. However, the factors determining the rate at which individual subjects recover has not yet been determined. SCP-1207 was discovered in an abandoned storage unit facility which had been in use as a workspace by members of the group of interest currently identified as Are We Cool Yet? It is theorized that SCP-1207 was to form the basis of an unfinished installation. Notes left by the artist indicate that the completed installation was, quote, "a rumination on the essence of how the ways we see ourselves shape what we are." To be completely honest, I think this one's just kind of fine. The art piece doesn't really evoke anything special in me, and I don't think the entry is anything like super special. I think, like I said, it's fine. It's a pretty fun one, it's pretty cool, but I don't think it's really anything that special. Honestly, the thing I most like about this is the fact that it's not actually a mirror, that it's just a sign. I think it adds a layer of depth that this entry really needs. I think it's pretty fun. And I also do think it's pretty cool that it doesn't straight out go into the self-mutilation aspect. I think there being the layer that the people who have access to cosmetics will go to those first. So it's not like trying to be extra edgy by being like, oh, to make themselves cooler, they need to cut off their limbs. And no, they're actually trying to conform to the society, you know. They're not trying to mutilate their body to look like a monster, or it's not like, oh, the end they rip their skin off and that's the point because blah blah blah. It's much simpler, much more grounded. I think that works for its favor really well. And the detail that blind people don't feel the mirror is really cool. I think it adds another layer of depth that really works in its favor. But yeah, it's fine. It has some really cool ideas. It has some okay ideas. I think it's pretty fine. SCP-1433 by Smapti from the SCP Wiki. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. A single copy of SCP-1433 is to be kept in a fireproof safe in the archive room of Site-72. Unsecured devices for the use of playing back audio cassettes are not to be allowed on site. No personnel are to listen to 1433 except for a D-class assigned for testing purposes. All such tests shall be conducted in a fully soundproofed chamber. The Foundation is to monitor physical and digital means of audio distribution for any evidence of recordings displaying similar properties to SCP-1433. Any other recordings demonstrating such effects are to be confiscated and destroyed, and any persons affected by them are to be terminated or conscripted as D-Class. Description: SCP-1433 is a recording of an unknown artist performing 433. An avant-garde musical piece originally composed in 1952 by musician John Cage. The sole known copy of SCP-1433 is currently contained on an audio cassette of the type widely manufactured in the 1980s. The recording is present on both sides of the cassette. Once placed into any device capable of playing back audio from a cassette and playback is started, the recording will play in its entirety at a constant volume of 30 decibels, regardless of the original volume settings of the device. Attempts to stop the playback of 1433 by stopping or pausing the player or by removing its power source have been unsuccessful. Only disconnecting the playback device from the audio output has proven successful. All copies made of SCP-1433 display the same anomalous properties as the cassette recording, regardless of the storage medium used. As with the original version of 433, the recording begins with the sound of the performer seating themselves at a piano bench and closing the lid. After 33 seconds, which the performer times on a stopwatch, the lid is opened and then closed again. This motion is repeated after another 2 minutes and 40 seconds. 1 minute and 20 seconds after that, the performer opens the lid a final time, stands up, and walks away. All other sounds on the recording consist of the performer breathing and turning through pages of sheet music, and of incidental sounds presumably made by an audience. EEG readouts of persons listening to SCP-1433 demonstrate evidence of atypical electrical activity commonly associated with anterograde amnesia and musical agnosia. Persons listening to SCP-1433 report hearing a low male voice speaking briefly after the second opening and closing of the piano lid. Acoustics analysis of 1433 has failed to identify this voice on the original recording. Descriptions of what the voice is saying are inconsistent, and few exposed have reported hearing the same statement. All persons exposed to SCP-1433 report that the voice is male and speaks a single sentence in English, typically of a nihilist sentiment, and typically referencing 20th to 21st century English language popular music. Statements reported to have been made by the voice include, I can't do a low voice, this is gonna suck. Oh no.
The words of the prophets are written on the subway walls. I don't believe in the Beatles. It's better to burn out than to fade away. There is no dark side of the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all dark. Not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken. It's all been done. It's all been done. It's all been done before. Are we cool yet?
Following exposure to SCP-1433, subjects display symptoms of psychological impairment similar to acute amnesia. The individual is completely unable to recognize, hear, or sense any form of rhythmic music, whether sung, vocalized, performed live on physical or synthesized instrument, or played back on a recording. Affectees have stated a complete inability to hear any music being played or performed in their presence, even when an instrument is being played in their field of vision, and they state an awareness that it should be audible. EEG readouts on persons so affected show an absence of brain activity indicating the cessation of auditory activity. The state is permanent and has shown no indications of being affected by amnestics. Aside from chronic psychological ailments induced by the inability to experience music, no other long-term effects of exposure to SCP-1433 have been noted. Addendum on 2000. A test was conducted in which D-85702, a Caucasian male 67 years of age, was exposed to 1433. In following test, D-85702 reported he was still able to experience music of the hip-hop genre when played back to him. In subsequent interviews, D-85702 expressed a strong distaste of hip-hop and rap music, stating that it was, quote, just a bunch of damn noise, unquote, and, quote, doesn't even count as real music, unquote, and that he was unable to hear elements of such songs that had been sampled from pre-existing materials of other genres. It is currently hypothesized that the amnesia induced by exposure to SCP-1433 is related to the affectee's personal understanding of what constitutes, quote, music. Further testing is deemed necessary to confirm this hypothesis. For this one, I think it's good to note that the name of this entry is The Sound of Silence. And our Cool Yet entries are not always safe. A lot of them are either Keter or Euclid, or they have some other really harmful effect. And my interpretation of this one is that the point of this art piece is to show how art, in this case music, affects our life, and by how removing it, we are worsening people's lives in a strong way. And instead of doing this in a temporary way, this piece just does it in a permanent way. A couple of notes that I really like. I think the inclusion of the fact that it's based on what the person considers to be real music is really cool. I think it adds a great deal of depth. And also, I think the fact that it has this nihilistic twinge is really fun, because I can totally see some kind of really nihilistic, almost edgy kind of artist creating this. But I also could see another explanation or interpretation being that this SCP was not intended to remove the people's ability to listen to music. I think there could be an interpretation where they wanted to make this piece, but it just happened to have this anomalous effect. I think that's also pretty cool. But this is it for this episode of JVSCP and for this episode of These Are We Cool Yet Corner. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and if you did, you might also really enjoy watching our other videos. And if you enjoy watching our other videos, you might enjoy our reading of There Is No Anti-Memetics Division. Why am I bringing this up now? Well, we're getting kind of close to finishing up the book, and I want to make kind of an official announcement here that yes, we are making a compiled video, a remastered version of all of the chapters in one without interruptions. So that will be coming once we finish the reading. And as a little bonus, Patreon members will be able to watch it, or listen to it before anyone else. There will also be a special version for the Patreon with a forward and afterword from me and or Jeff. And we're also working on getting our normal episode as well as the There is no Anti-Memetics Division readings up on either audio platforms or getting them to our patrons as files, but patrons will be getting first access to those as well. So that's a little incentive that I'm giving here. And YouTube members will of course also get the There is no Anti-Memetics Division compiled version and the extended edition version with our pre-word and afterwards. And those will be coming to you as well before anyone else. And well, yeah, the extended version will only be available for Patreon members and YouTube. YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Is that how it goes? I have no idea. I'm very bad at this, but that's why you're seeing those names scroll there. There are YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. We love them very, very much. A big, huge thank you to all of you supporting us. And as a little Easter egg here at the end of this video, I know most people do not watch until this point of the video, but if you have been watching, here's a little Easter egg. This is actually being recorded on the 29th of April, and you might be thinking, why on earth is it being released this late? Well, that's because I'm actually currently, when you're watching this, if you're watching it around the time this comes out, I'm away. I'm on a trip. So that's why we're recording these way beforehand. We usually try to do them like a week ahead, but this time we're way ahead because I had to prepare so we could keep uploading during my time away. Yeah, that's the Easter egg. Thank you so much. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.